watch this channel somewhat frequently, then chances are you're a friend of mine. Thank you for your support. You are an awesome human being. You may also be interested in movies. Thank you for your support. You are an awesome human being. If you love movies as much as I do, I'm sure it's safe to assume that you're hoping to get involved with the industry someday. In that case, I would highly recommend a website that I'm not affiliated with in any way, Backstage.com. With a video reel and a headshot, you can start searching for leading and supporting roles in your area, or if you're a little less experienced, you can easily become an extra or a crew member, which has the potential of opening up bigger and better opportunities. Backstage comes with a pretty heavy subscription price, so it's also a good idea to look into a film casting forum where people post about job openings for various positions. These are just two of many different ways to get your foot in the door, and with great ease thanks to the internet. But with all good things, there's always something to be wary of. You may be thinking of things like low pay, pushy directors, or the evils of fame and fortune, but one thing that might not come to mind right away is a scam. We're all familiar with classics such as "You win! We need gift cards to fix your computer," and the all-time favorite Cars Extended Warranty, but we might not consider scams that are tailored to a more specific demographic. A very common scam in the film industry involves someone posing as a manager or a talent agent who says that they can jumpstart your career if you just pay them a bunch of fees or sign their shady contracts. These people take advantage of young and naive dreamers who can very easily get distracted by the idea of becoming rich and famous doing the thing they love. And we all like to tell ourselves that we would never fall for something so obvious, but after the experience I had not too long ago, I can definitely see how someone can get caught up in this web of lies. You may or may not have been there when I randomly started to post videos like this.
My name is Ravina Forsyth, and I'm your host for this season of BB Makeup Wars, a competition reality TV series where we will be pairing makeup artists and face models to compete for the ultimate grand prize of $100,000 to be split between the winning teams.
In these posts, I quickly and frantically explained that I was a part of some kind of competition where I had to obtain likes and comments on a video linked in the description for a chance to host a TV show in Atlanta. Each video was more desperate than the last, with the rules of this out-of-nowhere event constantly changing and undoubtedly confusing anyone who watched. These shenanigans were the direct result of a scam, needless to say. It actually took me a long time to accept that I, along with several men and women, had been scammed, and I'm going to get into why and how, seeing as this is going to appear to be very obvious. But for now, let's just start at the beginning. So there I was, barbecue sauce. I was rushing through Backstage.com applications like crazy. Anything that sounded like something I could do, I applied to in just the click of a button. The idea was to apply to as many jobs as possible on the off chance that someone would go, "Yeah, her video reel is literally just B-movie quotes, but I think she'll make a good wheelchair hooker." That was an actual role offered to me, by the way. Anyway, it wasn't too long before I came across a casting call for a television host. There weren't a lot of details about the show itself other than that it was some kind of contest, but they offered $50 an hour plus travel, food, and housing in Atlanta, Georgia. It seemed like such a life-changing opportunity that I casually joked with my husband about actually getting the job. I know that I sound self-defeating, because I am, but my doubts actually didn't have as much to do with my capabilities as much as it had to do with the fact that I currently have no proof that I'm a good actor. Every time I try to demonstrate my skills on camera randomly, I feel entirely too awkward to give a legitimate performance, and everything I've done notably well had never been recorded. Whatever network this was, they were investing a lot of money. The grand prize of this competition was $100,000. That's 10 times the amount most game shows offer, with a winner not even being guaranteed. For comparison, the grand prize for Face Off, the show this basically rips off of, was just $10,000. And we haven't even touched on the fact that they were planning to pay every person featured in the show an hourly rate of $40 to $45. No producer in their right mind would put that kind of dough into this.
Now, if we were to live in the topsy-turvy world that Mr. Benjamin imagines, well,
but I decided to apply anyway, because who knows, maybe by the time I completely forget about it, someone could send me an email telling me that I expressed my interest just in time for an interview. Whoa! By the time I had completely forgotten about it, I got an email telling me that I expressed my interest just in time for an interview. This was amazing news. I actually had a shot to be on television in Atlanta, being paid $50 an hour on a type of show I actually enjoy. All I have to do is pay a $25 application fee. Okay, don't leave just yet. I know you're like, wow, wow, wow. Do you need to be escorted back to 2005's computer class?
And if you get an email, IM, or text from someone you don't know, it's best not to answer it at all.
But hear me out for a moment. For one, I had yet to learn that there is literally never a fee there's literally never a fee to apply to film and television. On top of not having that knowledge, I have been charged to apply for work before, and in my experience, it happens with higher paying jobs. Dude, it literally says to Cash App him. Okay, yeah, but here's the thing. Company owners, at least the kind that have 100K to throw around, are not very smart. They're old men and women who want to monetize young people's energy by manipulating them with dated memes instead of just paying them a fair wage. Okay, everybody, you are about to get shook! As of right now, you will actually get paid in gum! So no, a Cash App request didn't seem at all weird to me. But with that being said, I wasn't completely free of suspicion. In the document I received from a man named Bovarley Bernstein, I was given information about the actual show. It was called BB Makeup Wars, a show where face models and makeup artists team up to compete for a large cash prize that would be split between them. When I looked this show up online, I was surprised that I was actually able to find footage of this show. There wasn't a complete episode available to watch, but the clips that I saw seemed to be of real people in a real studio. It was strange to me that such a big, expensive project looked so cheap though. And the channel itself only had a little over 200 subscribers, but you see, company owners, at least the kind that have 100K to throw around, are not very smart. I have seen companies give millions of dollars to things that literally no one asks for, or try to make a cash grab out of properties with nearly non-existent fan bases. Why would VH1 be any different?
When I was a boy, I heard a joke about a black guy, a Chinese guy, and a Polish guy. They got a flat tire on a country road and ended up spending the night in a farmhouse. I have been looking for that farmhouse and those three men for my entire life.
You don't know how meta Rick and Morty is until you've read up on that.
That was the best hot buttered popcorn.
I think it was that it was in the works, and VH1 didn't want too many people to know about it yet, hence why it still looked really bad, with little to no one paying any attention to it. You know, once it was ready to go, it would get VH1's signature glossy sheen. If I had taken the time to do just a little bit more research, I would have realized that this project was bogus, but at the time I was under the influence of...
I'm going to be on television.
So now that I've split up with the gang, it was time for me to discover that my phone had no service. I get on the Zoom call, and the first thing I notice is that there's more than one person. Bovarley tells us that not only are the makeup artists and face models in a competition, but so are the people trying out for the host position. Whoever gets the job gets a $50,000 bonus. However, if we look at our Word document again, there's almost no mention of this. He says that those of us auditioning to be a host would be up against several other contestants in front of a live audience who would vote for who should go to Atlanta to film the show. Even though it was left field, I was excited. I told all of my friends and family about it, telling them that they had to go on Facebook to vote for me in a couple of days. But there was just one little problem. He never told us where the auditions would broadcast, so I couldn't tell anyone where to go. We had a date for when the live Zoom call would happen, but not on which platform. Fast forward to the day of, the call lasted for just about 20 minutes. We were all given a thing to say or do, and then afterwards I scoured Facebook, Instagram, and all the others for a live stream, but I found nothing. I was very confused. Why was there no record of a live stream to be found on any of Bovarley's accounts? I was already suspicious as to how he was going to get an audience to vote at all, considering how small his following was, but I figured that the broadcast would be backed by VH1, or some other part of his team in order to get more views. Moral of the story, don't make assumptions. But there was absolutely nothing to be found. I messaged Bovarley inquiring about the results, but I didn't get a response. Then the next day, Bovarley sent us all an email saying that he's going to send us each the video that we recorded so we could post it on our own social media and collect votes that way. And that was horrible news for me. You see, the first Zoom call went really well for me, and I felt like I would win by a landslide. But now my fate was based on a set of arbitrary rules that were entirely biased. First off, what counted as a vote was a like or a comment. Just a comment. Like, The number of comments. I asked if the comments themselves would be looked at and he said no. He would just be looking at the number of comments, meaning if you wanted to, you could just have someone spam a bunch of comments and win that way. Secondly, he wanted these videos posted on our own social media, meaning your chances of winning would directly be affected by how many people are following you. And I thought American democracy was bad. You couldn't get more biased if you went to Jim Bias's family reunion. This is real. I've walked past his office, and I've been waiting to make this joke for years. If they wanted people with big followings, they would tell us that from the gate. Do you know how many listings I came across looking for influencers specifically? Depression makes it difficult for me to keep up with my YouTube channel, and I recently cut huge chunks of friends and family out of my life for disrespecting my boundaries. That says everything about my ability to perform, but it wasn't necessarily the end of the world. But Varley said that out of the 6 of us, 3 would be chosen to go film in Atlanta, where the final decision would be made based on how we do filming the first couple of episodes. If this is starting to get confusing, then you're beginning to understand what we were going through. Although I was angry about this so-called voting system, I decided to at least try. After all, I only had to be better than 2 of them, and there were 2 contestants I was sure to have a chance against. Even if I didn't win the grand prize, making it to Atlanta would easily change everything for me. So I rallied up as many people as possible, telling them to get ready on August 7th for me to post a video, so that they can like and comment on it until the end date of August 8th. In the meantime, I had landed a gig as an extra in a Netflix movie. I wanted to ask everyone there to vote for me while we waited to start filming. I asked maybe 2 people to subscribe, but they didn't even show up for the actual event, so it didn't matter in the end. Not to mention that it was a scam, so it doubly didn't matter. During that time, I got an email from Bavarley stating that we now had to post the video on the 6th instead of the 7th, meaning that we had to update everything we already had established about it. I would talk more about how I managed to update everything while at the gig, but not only can I not really talk about those 2 days in full detail yet, it's not really relevant. However, I will say that seeing a real movie set made me set my sights on a different goal. I was ready for this whole Bavarley thing to be over so I can start looking into opportunities that were more obtainable. Because even though I made the biggest fuss on the internet about this competition, even going as far as to offer art in exchange for votes, it was completely useless. The other contestants had bigger families, more friends, and more followers, which just made me ask the question, what was the point of going through an audition process if it was just a popularity contest? All I wanted to do was lose and move on. But then a couple of days later, this guy emails us again, saying that the time for voting would go on until the 13th of August. At first, I was very angry. I was holding off on applying to more gigs on the extreme off chance that I would actually win and have to travel to Atlanta. But then I remembered something. Wasn't this supposed to start filming on the 15th? The listing is no longer on Backstage, so I can't show you the screenshot, unfortunately. But it did have the shooting date at August 15th. I'm no expert on what goes on in the film industry, but I'm enough of a nerd to know that you need way more prep time than just 2 days to start a project like this, in any setting. Hell, I'm working at Hershey Park right now, and that took nearly 2 weeks to set up. For one person. Let alone 3 or however many people he had lined up for the actual focus of the show. And that was another thing. How would this host thing even work? You're filming 2 competitions at once? What would be the cadence of that? Oh, and by the way, this other event is going on too. Make sure to be engaged with that. And where in the world was Bavarley's team? No one working on any project should be left in the dust like this. Especially with an exciting and profitable event like audience voting involved. Something smells fishier than a Catholic on Ash Wednesday. So while everyone else waited until the 13th, I started to do some investigating. Starting with, where's the first season? The BB Makeup Wars YouTube channel and official website made it seem like the first season had its own little fan base, but no matter where I looked, I couldn't find footage of an entire episode, not even to buy. There was no history of it anywhere on the internet that wasn't on Bavarley's social media, and even though we were apparently set up to start filming soon, there was still an offer to be a part of the second season. The website also says that you can follow the contestants by clicking on the links under their pictures, but it doesn't send you their social media. It only sends you to videos of their individual auditions. Then I went to VH1's website to see if maybe they were advertising a new show. Nope. just basketball wives. I tried to message them and ask if they are really working with a guy named Pavarley who was charging people $25 to be on a show they were making, but for some reason, I didn't get a response. Disney wouldn't have let that slide. I tried to get in contact with the people who participated in the first season, but they hadn't gotten back to me, so I decided to start from the top, the shooting date. I had to confirm that filming was indeed supposed to start on the 15th of August by going back to backstage. Every time. Suspiciously, the listing was no longer there. But I did find another listing for the host position on allcasting.com that expires in September.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
That's a lot of damning evidence! I messaged the other contestants about the listing. A good chunk of them said that they were also suspicious of Pavarley and reported him for fraud, and in the meantime, some past contestants did manage to get in touch with me. They said that each of them were promised a part in the show, but were never contacted afterwards, and any inquiry was met with silence. One person said they tried out 3 times, paying each time, and also winning each time, but never heard anything again. This is information that I shared with the others, causing them to hold their guard up. When the 13th arrived, Pavarley announced the final winners, but not based on who had the most votes. There was a toss-up between the person who had the absolute most votes, and who had less votes than I did, stating that he wasn't sure which one he wanted, and lastly claims that the reason why he has another listing up for the host position is because the first group wasn't diverse enough. He says that the only white person in the group refused to play a stupid little game, so he has to go find more white people to balance out the competition ethnically. Even though there's a large and incredibly diverse cast within the makeup and face models. Yeah, remember those unimportant characters? I aggressively confronted Pavarley. He's been wildly inconsistent, unfair, and dishonest, and needed to start giving us answers. This was a chance I indirectly gave him to explain himself before I too reported him for fraud. You may be wondering why I was allowing him to speak for himself at all. For starters, it's a very scary thing to end up needing to call someone a scammer. It's a very heavy word. And if you're going to use it, you had better be sure you know what you're talking about. And I know that at this point there were more than enough arrows pointing at the fact that this was a scam, but it's also an incredibly difficult thing to admit. Who wants to tell their friends and family that they were scammed? That your chance to film a TV show in Atlanta wasn't real? And that you were dumb enough to believe in such a big obvious lie? I wanted to be certain. My questions were, where is the first season? Where is your team? When is filming supposed to start? Why are the rules constantly changing? And where is everyone's money? I didn't get answers to any of my questions. I was yelled at and insulted.
This is Betty Cage, the Pa. If you won't be honest, your energy is not the type that this production needs as host for this type of show. Everyone's time is valuable, including Mr. Bernstein. The way you are coming across is quite negative. We are done all the best. Don't be a sore loser, dear.
Yeah, no professional talks like that. I talked to this Betty Cage, who I honestly believe is an alter ego, and I just got more immature garbage.
No, we don't owe you any explanations beside the facet that although you may have a good delivery. However, based on our team's evaluation, your style of hosting is not suitable for our production. No need to respond, as we don't want to waste any more of your time or ours. And be careful of your actions, because you could easily involve yourself in a suit if you decide to defame our project of Mr. Bernstein in any way. Let this be a warning. Because I won't be as kind as Mr. Bernstein. Move on. There are plenty of haunted houses or octagons that could use your type of energy, but not here. Nothing personal, just business.
You talk to the cops, I'm gonna whack you. Way to make yourself look like a scammer, Pavarley. If it's so legitimate, then why are you being so rude? Here's an example of how other scammers talk to you when you're on to them.
Why are you leaving? Why are you leaving? No!
Let me just close. Let me try closing it.
No! 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 No!
So I left the one-sided conversation to report Bavarley for fraud on multiple platforms. Every one of them seemed to take me seriously on some kind of level, except for Allcasting. For reference, Allcasting has this sticker on every single one of their listings. I told them what Bavarley's scheme was. I told him he was charging people $25 to apply for a job that didn't exist, but their team insisted that the listing was legitimate. I'm not joking when I tell you that they said this to me. It's legitimate. You pay a fee and try 3 times to compete for the grand prize.
The job is legit. As per checking the contract, there is a one-time registration fee of $25 for you to apply, and you have 3 chances to get the role as the TV host. The reply to your application will really depend on the casting director. If you are chosen, you will be contacted by them directly.
And I'm like, guy, there is no grand prize. There are literally people who won and were never contacted again. And they're like, Allcasting just lists the jobs. You're not guaranteed to get them just because you apply. Dude, there is no job. Okay, Karen. I was blown away by this interaction. I literally walked this guy through the scam, but he was absolutely certain that there was nothing to worry about. So since Allcasting was doing whatever in the world it was doing, I decided that I wanted to make this video. But there was still something wrong. Why would a website that literally tells you not to give money to anyone be so confident in this fraudulent listing? I lit up my fancy pipe once more and took another look at Bavarley's Makeup Wars Facebook page. I couldn't help but to notice that he's trying his best to convince people that his show is not a hoax. He posted a video of 2 former contestants giving future Makeup Wars contestants advice on how to approach season 2, and the smell of Ash Wednesday invaded my nostrils again. First off, the girls looked uncomfortable. They didn't seem enthused or like they wanted to be there. Secondly, their first piece of advice was to be patient, with their eyes widened, communicating with their faces that it took a long time for anything to happen. Next, they mentioned being prepared for what the challenge of the day was going to be and didn't have much to say after that. It was a completely phoned-in performance, but it did sound like there really was a season 1. I visited the BB Makeup Wars YouTube channel once again. When I first started to realize that Bavarley was a fraud, I figured that these were all his friends. But after taking another look at it, I just wasn't convinced that that was the case. Of course, everything regarding this project was vague, so there wasn't really a way to find the names of each individual in these videos, but luckily there was one contestant that stood out to me. Take a wild guess which one. He struck me as, yes, his pronouns are he, him, I checked. He definitely struck me as someone who posts their work on the internet, so I searched for hashtag BB Makeup Wars on Instagram and came across his page. In his bio, I found his email address and politely asked of his experience on the show. He said that he had a lot of fun filming, and he was paid, although the pilot episode was never aired. He also said that the last thing he heard about the show is that it was shopping for networks. Not too much longer after that, there was a group email sent to us wishing the winning 3 from the first round, give me a break, luck in competing with the new batch of successors. In the email, he said that the winners could vote for who they wanted to compete with because the 3 chosen from that batch were also going to be filming in Atlanta, apparently. After his announcement, he told everyone that the first season was filmed but never aired. He claimed that the deal he made with VH1 was to bring them a season 2 to prove that it was a show worth picking up. He then proceeded to say that this was just how the industry worked, that things can get scrambled up or whatever. But if that was the case, then why was he so hostile at the sight of confrontation? Another reason why I had a hard time calling him a scammer is because for a little while he reminded me of myself. I started a lot of projects that I didn't finish, and oftentimes while being way in over my head I would involve a bunch of other people, only to suddenly disappear along with my grand ideas. And if someone thought it was a fake because of that, I would completely understand. But the thing is, I understood that from the gate. I knew I was alone, I knew I looked sketchy. The last thing I wanted to do as someone working completely alone on a project free of actual professionals was to be unnecessarily mean to people, especially this amount of mean to people. It was important to me that even if the project didn't go anywhere, the people working with me got paid, and it was also important to me that they are respected. Film and television is a team effort. You can't disrespect your team. If you can't respect your team, you're not going to have a very good end product. if you have an end product at all. If this was even remotely true, which to me it might have been because it lined up with what the former contestant told me, this project wasn't going to end well. For a while I decided to leave it alone. I was still going to make this video, but I wasn't going to say that he was a scammer. I was just going to call him a poor manager. But then I saw him post this.
Hershey's chocolate. You know, I just love the taste of the smooth, rich chocolate. The crunch of the almond when you bite into it. Hershey's, love it. Get you one. Thank you, Hershey's. BB Makeup Awards.
Disney wouldn't have let that slide. But Varley has been spending his time reposting the little bit of footage he has on hand to convince people that he isn't just profiting off a failed project. And now that he's pretty much all figured out, he's no longer playing the hostess card, and is posting more listings for makeup artists and face models, and as a backup plan, is posting yet another failed project for profit, called Mama Don't Go, with a pitch so confusing I can't promise it will make a lick of sense when I say it. A reality TV show play. What? Apparently this is a contest too. See who's going to win the chance to be in the play, I guess?
It's a competition actors reality TV series. Remember, we're looking for 13 characters to fill the roles. Actually, we're looking for 4 characters per role. And then we'll whittle it down to that 1 character per role to go off and film the 13 episodes of the show.
It's way less believable. So the next time you go on Allcasting or some other website, make sure to check for Bavarley's name before you go applying for a spot on reality television. And if that doesn't work, just refuse to pay anyone anything. I have been working with real film companies, and no, it's not anything like this. You can't ask questions without getting threatened or insulted. Times and dates are consistent, and if anything changes, you're told ahead of time and why. Nothing is hidden, because you are a part of a team. And if these people do give you trouble, you don't have to deal with it. They always say not to give these kinds of people any attention. They say that if you get angry about it, or yell, or punch a wall, they win, and you give them all the power. But I don't know how else I'm supposed to feel. Yay, I've been scammed! I lost $25 that I really didn't have at the time for absolutely nothing! I love life! The truth is, this was emotionally draining for me. This is a scheme that preys on the hopes and dreams of people who are aware of how much opportunity is in Atlanta. And learning that this wasn't real was genuinely painful, especially for the women who completely changed their tune when they learned that they won. Suddenly they weren't so suspicious anymore and got blinded by the idea of getting that fame and glory. And he knows exactly what he's doing when he tells people that this is what they have to do in order to reach their goals. Well, not only am I here to tell you that you shouldn't fall for this specific scheme, but you also shouldn't put up with people who treat you poorly because they think they can hold the opportunity over your head. There are more opportunities out there than you think, and you deserve to be respected. Don't let them tell you that it's just show business, because it's not. I 100% encourage you to follow your dreams, but just be careful, okay? That was supposed to be the end of the video, but it took me forever to make this, so I have some updates. Allcasting is officially a cesspool of scams. Some guy named Paul Riker has a countless amount of listings saying things like, casting of Johnny Depp's new movie, even though it's the director who makes the movie, not the leading actor. There also just so happens to be several popular companies working on commercials at the exact same time. What a coinky-dink! I wanted to see where Paul Riker would take us, but one of 2 things might have happened. Every single one of Paul's listings are marked as hot, so either his inbox is flooded with so many suckers that he just exploded, or in an attempt to cover my personal information, I made it a little too obvious that I was already onto his bull. As long as we're talking about scams, I think I ran into another one, but I'm not entirely sure yet. I was going to talk about it at the end of this video, but I have more to say about it than I originally thought I did, so I'll talk about that in my next video. In the meantime, I would like to hear your thoughts about the new video format. Part of me really likes the GIFs, but another part of me feels like they're a little cringe, so please let me know what you think, and if you could give me, a bi person in America, a single $1 on Patreon, I can't even begin to express how grateful I would be. Until next time.
I'm not trying to bug you, babe, but I just got one today, and I need some money to buy candy bars. No, I'm not trying to bug you, babe, but I got one today. need some money to buy candy bars.